All right, so we're going to be reacting to my preseason picks. We're going to look at my record predictions, as well as my award predictions. Or we're going to start here with the records. So let's just get started. Starting off, we'll be with the AFC North, and I had the Bengals at the 1 seed in the division at 12-5. They actually went 9-8. They just certainly underperformed my expectations and a lot of people's expectations. So I don't feel too bad about that because I feel like a lot of people expected them to be better than they were. Next up will be the Baltimore Ravens, who I had at 12-5, and they actually did end up going 12-5. So I felt really good about that prediction, of course. Next is the Browns. I had it 9-7-1. I thought they were going to be a decent team. They were a decent team last year, obviously with Joe Flacco as quarterback for part of the season. Deshaun Watson was even a major downgrade from where he was a year ago. Jameis Winston came in, was decent in a couple games, but still not much better. Dorian Thompson-Robinson was really bad. So, I mean, their quarterback situation was just awful all season, and that certainly helped them be very underperforming at 3-14 from where I expected them to be. And then I had these Steelers. I gotta get out of the way here, maybe up. Yeah, I'll go like right here. Sorry, but I had the Steelers at 7-9-1. I thought they were going to get their first losing season under Mike Tomlin. They started the year off great, got to like 10-3, and then lost 4 straight to end the season. But now sit at 10-7, so still outperformed what I predicted. Next up will be the let's see, if it works. Yeah, next up will be the AFC East. I had the Buffalo Bills at 11-6. They went 13-4. Mainly, I thought their division was going to be tougher than it was. But it seems our division was pretty weak this year, and they got a couple extra wins there. Then I had the Jets at 10-7. That's what I'm talking about. I thought the Jets were going to be solid. They had 7 wins last year. Getting Aaron Rodgers this year was certainly an upgrade over Zach Wilson, and they somehow were 2 games worse. So I don't really understand. Like there's so much things going wrong here with the Jets this season. Then I had the Dolphins at 10-7. They ended up going 8-9, but they also had Tua miss quite a bit of games due to injury again. So if he would have played all the season, very easily could have got up to 10 wins. And then I had the Patriots at 3-14. They actually went 4-13 after beating the Bills in a meaningless Week 18 game. So I was pretty spot on there with the Patriots. I expected them to be pretty bad, and they were. Next up will be the AFC South here. I had the Texans at 11-6, winning the division. They went 10-7. So I was pretty close there. They are worse than I thought they were going to be, but they're right around the same record wise though. The Jags had a 9-8. I believe they went 9-8 last year, or maybe 8-9 or something. They're right around there. I didn't think they're going to be much worse this season. They did lose Calvin Ridley. They replaced him with Gabe Davis or whatever. So I thought that would be a solid replacement, but that turned out to be just not true. Also, Trevor Lawrence missed a good amount of the season, so Mac Jones came in and he did not do very good. Winning wise at least. So they definitely underperformed at 4-13 this season. Next up is the Tennessee Titans. I thought they were going to be pretty decent. I thought Will Levis was going to be solid. He has the receivers on the team. He had D Hop, Calvin Ridley, and Tyler Boyd, an amazing wide receiver trio. So I figured surely he can be at least half decent. If he can be half decent in this division, with that roster, they could be about a 500 team. He was pretty trash. Mason Rudolph came in and started a lot of games too. He wasn't much better. So bad quarterback play led this team to very much underperform at 3-14. They're getting the number 1 overall pick. Next is the Indianapolis Colts. Had at 7-10. They went 8-9. So I do feel pretty good about this one. I thought they were going to be a mid-level team. I thought we were going to see some improvement from Anthony Richardson. We saw some improvement, I would say, but not a whole lot of improvement. I'm still very skeptical on Anthony Richardson as a quarterback. Next up will be the AFC West. I had the Chiefs winning the division at 13-4. They went 15-2, so even a little bit better record-wise than I thought they were going to be, but I still predicted them in the right, place to lead their division, which was a pretty obvious choice. Then I had the Chargers at 9-8. They actually went 11-6, so major upgrades this season. I predicted them to be pretty good, potentially fight for a playoff spot, but then they even went a step beyond that, got to 11-6, and secured the number 5 seed. They've been playing really good all season. I underestimated them a little bit, but I still feel pretty good about predicting them to be, at least a good team. Then I got the Raiders. I had it 6-11. They went 4-13. Mainly, I thought Gardner Minshew was going to be better when he played this season. He ended up being injured also a big part of the season, but when he did play, he wasn't as good as I thought he would be. Aiden O'Connell was also injured for a while, so they had to put Desmond Ritter at quarterback some games. So, you know, bad quarterback play as well as quarterback injuries kind of led this team to be a little bit worse than I thought they would be. But overall, I'm not too upset about this prediction. Then I had the Broncos at 4-13, so major whiff here. A lot of people I do feel like predicted the Broncos to be pretty bad this season. On paper, they did not look very good. Bo Nix I thought would be decent, but he did not have the supporting cast outside of Cortland Sutton. Like Marvin Mims and Cortland Sutton have been pretty good all year, but other guys like that, Troy Franklin was on the team, but didn't really expect much from him. Like they have had random guys like Devon Bailey, Audric Estime, Jaleel McLaughlin kind of like pop off this year offensively, and their defense has been stellar with guys like Nick Benito coming out seemingly out of nowhere, at least in my world. So certainly overperformed, and Bo Nix certainly overperformed himself this year. Next up is the NFC North with the Detroit Lions. I had to win the division at 11-6. They actually went 15-2 and won the division. So I got the division leaders right, but certainly underestimated their potential this season. Next up will be the Chicago Bears at 10-7. This is kind of the same thing I'm feeling like with the Jets. Both teams won 7 games last year. Both teams seemingly have better supporting cast this year and a significantly better quarterback this year. And then both teams underperformed and won only 5 games. So very, very similar teams in that aspect. Again, the Bears, Caleb Williams coming into this season with Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, seemingly the best situation, like weapons-wise, for a rookie quarterback. And then he didn't even play necessarily bad himself, but the team just very much underperformed. Then I had the Packers at 9-8. They did go 11-16, so I did underestimate them a little bit. They did go 1-5 in the division. So if they would have done a little bit better in division, that obviously would have helped their record. But I still predicted them to be barely a winning record, but they certainly surpassed that quite a bit, especially considering they had injuries to Jordan Love for a few games. I definitely underestimated them. Next up, Minnesota Vikings. I had a 4-13. They ended up going 14-3. So again, kind of like the Broncos, I feel like a lot of people did not expect the Vikings to be very good. I did not expect Sam Darnold to be very good, but he has been amazing. He's been a top 10 quarterback this year, probably based on the stats for sure. He's been a top 10 quarterback, and that's pretty much the only reason why I had this Vikings team as low as I did, because I did not think Sam Darnold was going to be a good quarterback, but he's turned out to be a great quarterback and easily makes all the difference here. I was 10 games off on the Vikings. Next up will be the NFC East. I had the Dallas Cowboys at 12-5. I believe they were 12-5 last season. I didn't think they got much worse on paper. Of course, Dak Prescott did miss quite a bit of games, but Cooper Rush honestly has been playing better than Dak Prescott anyways when he got playing. And they weren't winning a whole lot with Dak Prescott anyways. The running game sucked all year. I kind of predicted that, but I thought their receiving core, their defense was going to be good enough to make up for it, and that just simply has not been the case. Then the Philadelphia Eagles, I had it 11-6. They went 14-3, so I certainly underestimated them a little bit. I did not think Saquon was going to go off for 2,000 yards, and that certainly could make that a 3-game difference there, just how good Saquon has been. Next up is the Washington Commanders. I had it 7-10. They went 12-5, so really underestimated them. I underestimated Jaden Daniels for real. I mean, I thought he was going to be a good quarterback, right? I think I thought he was certainly going to be second best quarterback. I thought Caleb Williams would be better in the draft class, but he has been elite. He's potentially been a top 10 quarterback as well, and that certainly makes up this difference from 7-10 to what they were in reality at 12-5. And then I had the New York Giants at 3-14. They ended up going 3-14. I mean, looking at this roster, I knew they were going to suck. Everybody knew they were going to suck. Nobody is surprised that the Giants were 3-14. Some people might be surprised that they actually were good enough to win 3 games. But yeah, I feel good about that one, but it was also a pretty easy pick. Next up will be the NFC South. So I'm going to start with the Falcons here. I had them at 9-8, winning the division. They actually went 8-9 after losing in Week 18 to the Carolina Panthers. So I was pretty close on them, but I did expect them to win the division, which of course they did not, because I had the Bucks down at 7-10 when they actually went 10-7. I thought they were going to take a minor step down from last year, mostly because it feels like the exact same roster. Um, so like for the most part, so I didn't really think they were going to be better. I thought they were going to be worse because a lot of other teams are getting better, especially the Falcons getting better in division. I thought that was going to make things a lot harder for Tampa Bay, but it didn't turn out to be much of an issue. The Falcons did beat the Bucks two times this season. But the Bucks found ways to win other games, especially when they had Mike Evans down a few games, Chris Godwin out for half the season. Like they really overperformed from my expectations. Next up is the New Orleans Saints. I had it 6-11. They went 5-12. So Derek Carr was out for a few games. If he would have played all the games, they might have gotten to 6-11. But either way, I was still pretty close on this prediction. Don't feel bad about this one at all. And then I had the Panthers at 3-14. They actually ended up going 4-13. So just again, I was one game off. I don't feel too bad about this. And Bryce Young played really well at the back half of this season, which I did not really expect that. I expected some progression from Bryce Young, which he's definitely shown some progression, but he's shown more progression than what I thought we were going to get coming into the year. But I believe that's going to be it. Or no, I got NFC West. Never mind. Got this one, and then I got to show the playoff standings. But yeah, NFC West. I had the 49ers at 12-5. They went 6-11, so I certainly messed that one up. They had a lot of injuries this season, but even with everybody healthy, they probably weren't going to get up to 12 wins anyways. I kind of just whipped on this quite a bit, but they did have a lot of injuries, so that kind of protects me a little bit. I had the Rams at 10-7. They ended up going 10-7. So I feel really good about this one. I thought they were going to be just about the same team they were last year, and it turns out that's exactly what they've been to this point. And then I had the Seahawks also at 10-7. Again, I got that one exactly on the dot. I feel really good about this division aside from the 49ers, of course. And then last but not least, I had the Arizona Cardinals at 6-11. They actually ended up going 8-9, so I underestimated them a little bit there. Still, I don't feel too bad about that pick. 2 games off isn't horrible. Besides the 49ers, I was pretty spot on with the NFC West. But yeah, we're going to go over my playoff picture that I had at the beginning of the year. So in the AFC, I had the Chiefs at the 1 seed at 13-4. They did get the 1 seed. Of course, we're not really going to worry about the records anymore because I already talked about that. So I got the Chiefs right as the 1 seed. I had the Bengals as the 2 seed. The Bills actually ended up being the 2 seed there. Bengals, of course, missed the playoffs. I had the Bills as the 3 seed. They ended up being the 2 seed, so I don't feel too bad about the Bills there. And the Ravens, of course, were the actual 3 seed. I had the Texans the 4 seed. They ended up being the 4 seed. The 5 seed here, I had the Ravens. They actually ended up being the 3 seed, win their division. And the Chargers are the actual 5 seed, which you're going to see. I had the Dolphins here at the 6 seed at 10-7. The Steelers are the actual 10 seed at 10-7. And then I had the New York Jets making it here at 10-7 as well. While the Broncos actually made it at 10-7. So I had the Chargers at 9-8, barely missing the playoffs. They ended up being the 5 seed. I had the Steelers at like 7-9-1, missing the playoffs. They made it in. Now I had the Broncos pretty down low. But I got four of the 7 teams correct. I got 3 of the division winners correct. So I don't feel horrible about the AFC, but I certainly don't feel great about my AFC predictions here. Then I had for the NFC, the 1 seed, I had the Cowboys at 12-5. The Lions ended up being the 1 seed. I had the Niners at 12-5. The Eagles, as the 2 seed, the Eagles ended up being the 2 seed. So both the Cowboys and Niners are not even close to the playoffs, so I feel really bad about those. The 3 seed, I had the Lions. Of course, they ended up being the 1 seed, and in reality, the Rams are the 3 seed. And then I had the Falcons at the 4 seed, which in reality is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Falcons are not in the playoffs. And then the 5 seed, I had the Philadelphia Eagles. They are up to the 2 seed, and the real 5 seed is the Minnesota Vikings at 14-3. I had the Bears at the 6 seed at 10-7. The Commanders ended up being the 6 seed here at 12-5. And then for my 7 seed, I had the Los Angeles Rams at 10-7, and the Packers were the real 7 seed at 11-6. So this one, I did get I got 3 of the 7 teams here correct, and I only got 1 of the division winners correct in the NFC. So I feel really bad about this one. But the AFC, I feel a lot better on. Looking at my NFC playoff picture, I feel a lot better about my AFC playoff picture now. But I do think that's going to be it for this part. I'm going to skip over to my award predictions. Just give me a second. All right, so this is my award predictions. I hope this transitioned well, but let's just get started into here. So this is what I'm looking back as to where I predicted them at the beginning of the season, and then looking at our current top five guys now. So starting off with defensive rookie of the year, the left side is what I had. Right side is what they have now. I'm not going to talk about everything. I'm just going to talk mainly about who I had winning it, and then who are the top guys that are in there now. But I had Dallas Turner winning it, who is currently not even in the top five. So I don't feel great about that. But I did have Quindon Mitchell on my watch list and Chop Robinson on my watch list, which are currently in the top five of odds. So I feel good about those two guys. I'm kind of close. My winner being Dallas Turner seems to be not a very good pick as it stands right now. Next was the offensive rookie of the year. My pick was Caleb Williams, who was again currently not in the top five, but most people were predicting Caleb Williams, so I don't feel bad about that. But other guys who I had Jaden Daniels in the finalists, and I had Malik Neighbors in the finalists, who actually isn't in the finalists right now for the top five, but he's very, very close on that on that cutoff there because he's been amazing all season. But you do got a couple quarterbacks here. I really was only right about Jaden Daniels being in the top five. Other than that, I guess Marvin Harrison Jr. is in the top five as well. So I did good about those two guys. But my winner being Caleb Williams, again, I very much whiffed on that. Then for the comeback player of the year, my pick was Aaron Rodgers. I thought, coming off of a torn Achilles at 40 years old and at least playing not bad, I feel like it was basically going to guarantee him the comeback player of the year. He had a solid season. He had like 28 touchdowns. I don't remember how many yards. I think it's close to 4,000. He had a decent season for sure. But just because the Jets were so bad, he's not really on the radar for comeback player of the year. So right now, major whiffed on all three of my picks so far. I did have Joe Burrow on my watch list, and he's certainly on one of the top five finalists as it stands right now. So I'm good about that. But again, my winner being Aaron Rodgers just currently does not look like a possibility. Then I had for the coach of the year, my pick was Matt Eberflus. He's not even a coach anymore, so I very much whipped on that as well. My picks are not looking good right now. I should have just the way it looks right now. I should have just gone with like my secondary picks all season long. But you can see here, my five picks here. My five guys to watch are not even in the top. Not a single one of them is in the top five right now for coach of the year. So very much whiffed on this award. Yeah, moving on. For the defensive player of the year, my pick was T.J. Watt. He's currently number two behind Pat Surtain in the odds. I think it's a good chance that T.J. Watt still ends up winning this award. So I do feel good about this one. I also had Myles Garrett in the top five. I had Nick Bosa in the top five, but he obviously wasn't great. Michael Parsons was in the top five. He wasn't great. But with T.J. Watt and Myles Garrett both being in the current top five, and T.J. Watt being my winner, I do feel good about that. And T.J. Watt has the potential to still win the Defensive Player of the Year, so I could make that prediction correct. After my other four so far have been pretty bad. Moving on to Offensive Player of the Year, my pick was CeeDee Lamb. He hasn't had a great season, certainly not where he was like last season. Part of that is because Dak Prescott was out, and just the Cowboys in general have not been a good team this season. So he certainly is not going to win Offensive Player of the Year. But some of these other guys on my watch list, like I have Jamar Chase on my watch list, and he's currently on here. So I do feel good about that. I do not have any quarterbacks on my watch list, mostly because I don't really feel like quarterbacks really have a shot for Offensive Player of the Year, just because the way the MVP works, MVP is primarily a quarterback award, so I thought the Offensive Player of the Year should primarily be anything but quarterback, just to kind of give the skill position guys something to win. But three of our top five finalists right now for MVP are also the quarterbacks that are on here for Offensive Player of the Year. But Jamar Chase being at number two, there still has a chance to win that, so I could be kind of close with one of my guys on the watch list, but Saquon looks like he's got to run away with it this season. I will make my official award predictions, like for the postseason award predictions, after they release the official finalists, which I think happens, I don't know, pretty soon. I'm assuming, but I'm not really sure. Next up is the last award here, the MVP. So I had Joe Burrow winning the MVP, and he's put up really good stats. So I don't feel bad about this pick at all. If his team had two more wins this season, he probably would be the MVP, even with 11-6 record. But at 9-8, missing the playoffs, he has no shot to win MVP, even though he's leading in passing touchdowns, passing yards. So he's certainly been the best quarterback. His team just not good enough to win MVP, so I don't feel bad about that at all. Other guys on my watch list was, of course, like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. So I do feel good about having Josh and Lamar on my watch list because those two guys are certainly here, the big league guys to win MVP. It's probably going to come down to those two. I don't foresee anyone else making any sort of noise really in there. But that is going to be it for the video. Thank you for watching. Make sure to check back later this week. I'll have a power ranking video and some other videos, I believe, talking about the current, about the playoff. I'll have a playoff prediction video, a power ranking video, and stuff like that. So just stay tuned to all the videos I'm going to have coming up.